That's pretty much it. And someone had asked about the fee from the building department. You'll see that on the last line on page 5. We have fees that we collect and then we pay them out. So the estimated, the annual is the $19,153,799, but the last column is 1/4 of that, which is what we would be submitting, whatever number is adjusted for the temporary budget.
Ms. Cole,
Yes.
question regarding the escrow funds. How much of that money do we still retain from the building department escrow funds? From when we were collecting escrow funds?
That fund is being audited by the state, so I reserve my answer to that. We paid out, since I've been here, we paid out hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's one of the main, because such a large influx, they're auditing that, so I'll rather wait until we get their audit report, the state fiscal folks.
So we've paid out hundreds of thousands of dollars already from the Trust and Agency Fund 736. Then how come that's not reflected here on our 2014 appropriations?
That's another project we're working on. Those checks are written manually. They do not go through our automatic payroll pay system. So we're in the process of talking to Wycom to have that happen, just like when we send out other payable checks, because that links it to our books. But in the meantime, we will adjust it for this year. We're going to go back and add up all of disbursements and do a journal and place it, you know.
So there will be money spent out of 730.
Oh, yes.
Six. But we have zero there right now.
Oh, I just explained that we have manual checks. So what we have to do, we're working in concert with the auditors. And they asked that we sort of wait till they finish their reconciliation. They went all the way back to '09 to come forward with this project. But in the meantime, we're working to have this system linked to our financial records like we do other checks that we issue. It's not on our software package. Then every time a check is written, it'll automatically link to the financial statement. But what we're going to do for this year, we have to write a journal to record those. And that's basically what they have been doing in the past, writing journals to record them. They were not linked to the software package.
Right. So
we're
there
going to
will
do
be an amount spent somewhere around a few $100,000 at least
Yeah,
out
I
of
would
that
say
fund.
again that we would do a journal before the end of the year. We're working in concert with the auditors. When they render their report, which she feels that it'll be soon, for the end of the year sometime, because they went all the way back to '09 to reconcile this account. They went all through the building department records, all the finance checkbooks, bank statements, banks, so.
So being that we had $900,000 in the bank at the beginning of the year, and this, what you just gave us, projects $400,000 more of a shortfall, if that number that you're talking about, the $100,000, exceeds $400,000 or $500,000, we will actually have a cash flow problem.
What number are you talking about, sir?
We started the year with about $900,000 in the bank. And that's total, everything, $900,000.
What's your question?
So then this final appropriations is predicting that we will lose another $400,000, which would mean if we go from 900,000 at the beginning of the year, we take 400 away, we've got 500 left. So if we end up, it turns out we've paid out $400,000, maybe $500,000 from our escrow fund, we will actually run into a cash on hand problem.
No, we don't have a
How much-
cash flow problem right now.
How much money do we have in the bank right now?
Oh, right now, we have about $1.2 million.
$1.2 million?
Well, we have several bank accounts. That's the main account. There's a separate account, and I'll have to get those numbers for you. There's 4 different accounts we have. But I was speaking of the general operating account, which this is not part of that.
So this will need to be changed then again.
What is that? No, I'm not changing it.
If
I
we're
mean,
going
that
to,
was
if we have
what you're
expended
saying.
money from Fund 736, but you have zero in here as appropriations from 736, then this will need to be changed again, or else we're spending money outside of the law because you're dispersing money without
But I didn't show you
appropriations.
revenue either. There's no revenue shown.
Oh, I understand that. That is the problem.
No, you don't understand. We're talking about resources, revenue. We're not talking about fund balance. It goes back to accounting. There's a difference between fund balances and cash. And I don't think I want to bore there with teaching them accounting, but you're mixing the two together, okay? So what this is, the numbers you see on these documents is taking the budgeted revenue minus the budgeted expenses. It's not taking fund balance, revenue. No, that's not the way it works.
So we don't have to appropriate money from 736.
I didn't say that. I just said that we're waiting for the auditors. I'm working in concert with the auditors. I also said that we're going to do a journal entry when they give us the amount that they're reconciling. They went all the way to 2009. And they're looking at all of the documents. They're looking at things called the bank statements, checks. So when they render a report, because they want to be assured that the records we have, for all I know, this is not even a good number. The 1 million that you see here may not even be a good number. We'll see when they finish their report. Yes.
Go ahead.
The escrow money, contractor pays his escrow, he puts it in the bank. You put it in the bank. It sets it. When he comes back, it's in a separate account, escrow. Nothing else is paid out of that account, there it is. When he comes back, when the job's done, everything, collect the escrow, you say, the building department says, fine, everything's good, you issue him a check and it's there. Everything's accounted for. You haven't drawn on it for
We
it.
don't collect the money goes to a title company.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, it goes to a title company now. So this is old money, and, you know, that's why the auditors went all the way back to '09.
just fine.
And so they're going through, I mean, literally, they're going through every piece of record over in the building department, because there's some question as to what is the true balance. And so I choose to wait. I don't have the time, but they're the experts, so when they finish, it's only that account that they're working on, because they want to ensure that that $1 million, you know, that's on the books. That's not what we have in the account, because like I say, just as I've been here this year, we have to pay out over $500,000 since
Back to the original people.
no, well, right, these are not new dollars. These are from accounts that were on file prior to my arrival.
Right.
That's right.
We don't collect the money now. It's collected and the process goes to the title company.
So it's not a revenue stream.
And no, there's no money
Otherwise.
coming in, but all the money that goes out is from the old money.
Correct.
And the auditors are just verifying what that balance is, and also checking the records to make sure we're not double paying or, okay, so that's all I can say about that.
Okay, can
So
we move on then?
why do we not have the appropriations written? You said it's more than $500,000, so why haven't we put at least $500,000 in this line item?
I already answered that, we're waiting for the auditors.
So
I've answered
So if that sinks our
I've answered
ship,
that.
you're gonna say, I didn't do it because I was waiting on the auditors, even though I knew there was at least $500,000 in expenditure
How does
there.
that change the general fund? That does not have
That's
anything to
nothing.
do.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Is that like a pass-through account?
It is.
Yeah, exactly. It's not hard to understand.
So
Can we
this
move
is
on?
the revenue as I see it, whatever changes you all want to make, but this is what I present from the finance department, that our estimated revenues for the year is the 19 million. Of course, we will only submit a quarter of that, which is the 4,788,000, you know, for the temporary budget. Barring whatever changes you want to make for these items of revenue. Okay, the appropriation is the same format pretty much. It shows the prior 2 years what was projected in 2014, my projections for the 2015, which is the shaded column, and then the difference between the two, the projected for 2014 versus what we're projecting for 2015. So as you can see, most of the decreases, again, is the fire and police. Their budgets from last year, from this year, which I explained included the health care that was projected and, the programs and change and staffing, and also absorbing the staffing officers from the police and fire levy and the deficit from the fiscal. So all of that is rolled up into that $40 million that you see. So those will not be budgeted in 2015, so that's why it drops to the 2.9 number. And so you see the changes there. So that's where the most changes. And the next, I think, big change would be the dispatch center, where, there's a projection there of the consortium, the call. Instead of having our own dispatch, what you see budgeted there, two records, dispatch records person as well as the secretary. And let's see,
So Irene, is that decrease because of the consolidation that we're doing with the dispatchers that just start up in 15?
yes, and if you want any information, I'll let you probably talk about that. But basically, we won't have the staff here, the staff will move, and we'll have a couple staff persons left behind. So,
There's a buy-in to that program though, isn't there? That we have to,
well, that's the 516,000.
oh, I see it.
Which will decrease because the contract has changed since I did this budget.
More people are.
The way they're gonna prorate the charges. Before, they had prorated us different on a pro rata basis, and I sort of insisted that it's across the board, because originally our share would have been 29%. So, with my insistence, they decided that it'll be 25%. So that number could even change, so I just don't know what it is yet.
Okay.
And so that's, another change in here. And then the others are just, shifting and staffing and fringe benefits for the most part as we go down. And then again, on page 2, that's where Councilman Sefirati noticed, about the senior programs. That's basically page 2.
We're gonna check public health, right? The census numbers for that?
Oh, yeah, but I just raised it just to have it in the budget. And then on page 3, again,
So no rec, no senior center, no nutritional services, and no senior transportation.
so that's what it is. And so the other change too from elected mechanics, because for the first half year, we had 2 mechanics there. The one was resigned and moved on. So that's why the salaries are higher in 14 than they are in 15 for the mechanics. And like I say, in terms of other major changes, you'll see where the cuts and reductions are taking place with the brackets. Also, what I had to increase was in legal because of the negotiations. It's near the bottom of page 4. You'll notice that the other administrative went from like 14,000 in 2013 to like, I'm budgeting 75,000 for 15, so that's a considerable increase.
Excuse me, Irene.
Yes.
Where were the legal fees incurred in fighting against the traffic cam petition? Where were those put in? Is that here in the legal department, other administrative? Is that part of that large jump?
Yeah.
The 31,000 or so?
It's there.
What did that end up totaling to?
What did it total?
Yeah, how much do we have to pay the
About 31.
attorneys from Cincinnati?
It's about 31.
We paid them 31?
No, the total, I don't have another breakdown, but I just know the total is about 31.
Uh-huh.
The total.
You already wrote a press release on it, didn't you have the numbers?
Okay, on page 5.
So we cost $30,000 in doing that,
I don't know.
$31,000.
We just paid the bill. So on page 5, on the lands and buildings, again, that's shifting some of the expenses, the majority of them out of the other administrative that we talked about for the insurance, moving some of that out, and other expenses, so. Moving right around. So you can see that almost all the departments had reductions. I mean, we just had to reduce some of the other administrative costs. Like I say, we just have to do it less. So that's pretty much all that's in the general fund. And so the total projected appropriations for general fund is $10,000,007, which with the revenue that's listed, which includes the $200,000 for the garbage and the $158,000 for the railroad, that leaves us with a surplus of $556,000. So that number would change as we change the revenue.
Okay.
Okay, and then page 7, again, it's just, just an outline of the special revenues and how they're changing. And so the street lighting and the police pension. And if you could see what I was explaining, if you look at 215, which is the police pension, you'll see how they were budgeting like 591, almost 600,000. And see, that was over budgeting because we're only receiving about $77,000. So that's why all of that had to be absorbed and was running a deficit. And that those expenses had to be moved back to the police and fire department respectively because it was just accumulating a deficit there. And then on page 8 is the mostly the sewer maintenance, and you'll see where we have the OWDA and the OPWC grants, and those are the amounts that we paid for those street projects, for those. And then any salaries related to the sewer, which is some of the guys out of service were charged here. And so that's pretty much what we have there. Then we jump down as we spoke about the police and fire levy. And so now that we have money to support those two programs, then we put the officers back there, but it's commensurate with the revenue that we'll receive, the carryover. So that took some of the load off the police and fire budget. And then there's the solid waste. You can see what the expenses were for this year, which included some prior year balances, and then also what's being projected for next year. The ambulance billing, we sort of talked about that. Is broken up into 3 components really. There's a component for non-personnel expenses for the police and non-personnel for the fire and the secretary for the fire department. So those are the 3 components you see there. And there's a net decrease of $89,000 that we're cutting out from there. So you'll see those cuts. Didn't have anything for FEMA. The street, 270. So, and again, as we go down, we're just making cuts and some of the non-personnel expenses to offset. Page 10 is pretty much the same. In a lot of instances, I just budgeted what we had for the 2014 in a lot of instances, or, either I took it out, so. Bless you. And then the non-retirement, also the debt service that we pay, the 1.2 million a year for that. And like I say, the capital, I need to get the Mr. Ed Rand to see what's going on with that.
Ms. Cole,
Yes.
could you explain 274 drug law enforcement? What's happening with those expenditures? See that they were less than 13, much more, 14, and now 0, and 15.
Right. We're not anticipating any funds, like I say, from those at this time, any expenses that we know of. So you can see the capital outlay. I have to check. I think this where the leases on the cars are being paid from.
So that was paid for through a grant, if I understand correctly.
I'll have to check to see what the 46,000 is that's been charged here year to date. I'll let you know our next meeting.
Yeah, because I see in the revenue, nothing in the DARE program as far as the grants, I'm assuming. So we're just done with that one.
My understanding from Chief Papalardi that we're finished with the deal yet. Okay, and then there's the mayor's court. Budget pretty much the same.
So we're not budgeting to cut grass this year, or is that
It's in
to a
general
different,
fund.
it's in general? Gotcha, I remember you said that.
Right. 736, as you can see, we know what that is, those are the escrow. And the building deposit and refund, those are the deposits, like little $50 they pay, and then we have to give back. So it's properly classified in 736 because it's a pass-through custodial fund. And then on the last page, the 743, those are fees that we pay, some of those building fees that we were speaking about, with the 3% that they charge. So the total projected for 2015 is to 17,115,208. And like I say, that's with the exception of the infrastructure or whatever, I'm speaking with Ed Rand, that number for the special funds could go up. And the last column, that's 1/4 of that number. That is my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Irene.
Thank you.
Go ahead, what?
Okay, I might not be following this, and I'm not trying to give anybody a hint on this, but when I'm looking through this, and you're cutting pretty much all of the senior services, but you still keep salaries in here, does that mean these people are still gonna be employed?
Salaries for
In 2015, well, I'm looking at, recreation, so we're still keeping a person in recreation. Page 2 in the temp budget, and then you have senior services and nutrition services and senior transportation, so we're still keeping staff.
I'm not following.
Oh, wait a minute. Duh, I'm reading the wrong thing.
Oh,
Rewind me. Wow,
You know, just showing the negative.
yeah.
okay. We're just showing the changes.
We're not dispensing with the people.
I'm not.
No. We do have, we have some time before we need to pass this. Correct?
It needs to be there December 31st.
Okay, so we do have 3 meetings. In the meantime, if there are questions that you still have for all of this, we could have another meeting, or we could send emails. We do have another work session coming up in December, so if you'd like to really look this over and bring your questions forward, and if you have great ideas for revenue, how we can bring forward some kind of a different plan. We do have some options that we're looking at right now.
And how many staff people are actually losing their jobs in the temporary budget for 15? We have rec, we have senior, everybody from
Police,
this
fire.
building will be laid off.
Police and fire.
Police and fire is actually taking some type of a cut. Your county?
What do you want to know?
She wants to know the staffing in the senior program.
12 in our department,
12 people,
not full-time,
12
three
people are gone and,
full-time.
Oh, they're not going yet.
no, I'm just, well, according to this budget, it will be.
Well, this is for 15. I know what I'm
2
just
months.
saying. No, I
I
understand,
know,
but
yeah.
I don't think it was gonna, I mean,
No, and I'm not, I'm just, this is
How many
a,
police officers, chief?
Sorry?
How many police officers and fire?
Well, we were able, the chair of the council, we were able to, what we want to do is we were able to transfer 2 officers back into the police levy fund, as Mr. Coleman said. That offsets some of our costs in terms of from the general fund. However, what we did was we had to get, because we had to cut 30% across the board, that way we wanted to give back the majority of the new hires we projected for next year. We were able to retain more.
Do you?
Oh, I couldn't hear any of that, sorry.
Sure.
in fire. You're ready to make cuts in fire.
Well, from the
Yes.
beginning of this year, we're down 10. And then we reduced the overtime by bringing on the new personnel recently. So we incurred a lot of overtime in 2014. There's been a reduction of staffing, and a reduction in how many they're allowed off each day. They went from 4 to 3.
None of that'll be in the minutes.
Basically what they're saying is 30% across the board.
30% cut personnel.
Yes.
Okay, are there any further lingering questions, or it's 9 o'clock, I'm going to finish our business here? Are we okay?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Any news from the state auditor's office?
yes, they're still working, they're revising, they were waiting for the levies, the election. So they have projected what the city will look like. We're meeting on Thursday. So we're gonna compare our numbers, what I think they're gonna look like now that the levies are gone compared to what they think they're gonna look like. So we're in constant meeting. Last week, how many days? Maybe 3 days they were here. They're always around.
Okay.
So I just say, I think no news is probably good news. So we, whenever they have a question about some information, they call and we send it to them, and it goes back and forth. Then they come and visit.
Are they giving a kind of deadline, timeline as to when they will get back with their official word on it?
Well, there was a letter, and I think Council President, what was October 1st, I think she communicated that she had received communication that they had a list of questions that they needed answered by the 31st, which I answered. And so now they're reviewing my answers, and then they're changing some of those based on the November 4th election. So this may be going on for a while. But at least, they can just come back. So that's why I stay close to them to see what they're doing.
Okay. Thank you, Irene. We appreciate your time, and thank you, Council, for spending this time. And don't forget to go over it very carefully. We will have another meeting. Hopefully
December 1st.
December 1st, right. And this meeting is adjourned at 9:07.